Before we start the episode, this is for the doctors listening. If you treat personal injury patients, you will be asked to defend your records. Depositions and subpoenas are not a possibility, they're inevitable. On February 13th and 14th from 9 to 11 a.m., we're hosting a virtual training seminar called You Are the Expert. We train physicians how to document, prepare, and testify with confidence before an attorney or insurance carrier ever questions your credibility. Register now at pisciences.com and click the banner at the top of the page and enjoy the episode.
We're going to have a deposition come up. I want you to go through it right now, and we're going to practice like I'm deposing you as defense counsel. And the software is going to call out the physician on any inconsistencies they have, any ambiguous responses, and they can go back and review that and say, hey, what you said here was inconsistent with this medical record. What you said here was inaccurate. And so it's a way for them to train their physicians or their medical experts without having to know the literally hundreds or thousands of pages of the case by memory. So I think it's a pretty good training tool, certainly.
Because that's
trial prep tool, whatever else you want to make it.
Yeah. And I think that really applies for like new doctors going into deposition.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they don't have that experience. That's where we get all those calls like, hey, I'm getting deposed next week. It's like,
right.
Whoo, get ready for road rash.
Right.
Like,
well, and what's nice about it too is like attorneys hate telling the physicians have egos. You know?
Yeah.
And they
hate goes both ways.
They hate being the one to tell them like, hey, you did that wrong, right? And when it's the software that just says, hey, this was inconsistent, it takes that burden off the attorney of like, hey, you're doing this incorrectly, you're having these inconsistencies. Like, let's look what the software said. And it takes off that like, hey, you need to do better from the attorney. And instead, it's just the AI that's saying that. And I think that helps attorneys as well.
You get constructive feedback without the emotion tied.
Yeah, without the emotion or the physician feeling like, why is this attorney telling me how to do my job? It's not, right?
Yeah.
The attorney's just like, hey, let's just resolve these things.
Welcome to Injuries and Evidence, the podcast where real-life injuries meet real-life solutions. I'm your host, Jason Wardell, and today I have a really special guest that I've been looking forward to for several weeks, Andrew Applegate from Co-Chair AI. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, let's dive into a little bit of your background because I'm really excited about this topic with Second Chair and the specific problem you solve for attorneys, but how that trickles into so many other facets of a legal case. So let's get a little bit of background from you.
I'll start from like the beginning. When I was
back in 1991.
Yes. So when I was growing up, I had a very interesting dad, and he did a Mormon mission in South Korea. And it's interesting, like when people go on these missions, they come back with certain things, right? Sometimes they like the food or they'll like the music or the culture, whatever. My dad came back, and the thing that like I think he took home with him more than anything was a parenting style. Like he came back a South Korean parent. And in America, the big thing to do with your kids is to tell them they can do anything, you know, like if you want to be an astronaut, like go for it. You know, you want to be in the NBA, you know, dream big. That's amazing. That's not how South Korean parents do it. And it's not how my dad did it either. Like his whole thing was telling me what I was not good at. Like that was his thing. And I remember distinctly growing up, you know, as I was thinking about like, what should I do? What should I not do? My dad was big on this. He's like, Andrew, never be in corporate America. And I was like, why not? He's like, look, you're not tall enough and you're not good looking enough to ever climb a corporate ladder. That's what he said to me. So he said, you know what you need to do is you're really good at school. You need to go to school, get highly specialized in something so that no matter how abrasive you are, how not tall you are, you're still going to get paid decent money. So that was me growing up. And so I grow up. And while I'm growing up, I started doing some entrepreneurial things, right? Like I mowed lawns in the neighborhood. And I think, Jason, like if I had to guess, I think there's a direct pipeline between mowing lawns and entrepreneurship. I really do, because it teaches you at a young age, like, hey, I got to go out there. I have to create a product that's very visible. I have to interact with people, etc. So I mowed lawns and I did that. And another thing my dad did is he had apartments, okay? And he, one day he comes to me and says, Andrew, I want to come to you with a proposition. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He said, why don't you set up a washer and dryer business in one of my apartments? And I was like, okay, say more. He's like, so here's what we'll do. I'll give you a loan. I'll give you a loan for, and I can't remember what it was. Let's call it like $1,200 for a washer and dryer, right? I'll give you this loan. You're going to go put this washer and dryer in the apartments. And it was one of those coin ones, right? Where you pay $1 to wash your clothes. So he sets that up and he's like, and over time, you're going to pay me off. And then once you pay me off, then you can start enjoying some of these profits and we'll do a little fee sharing arrangement. I'm allowing you to have it in my apartments. Then you get to take home a certain thing. So I did that and it probably took me like 2 years to pay them off. Right. But I was 13 or 14 at the time.
With like change and
yes. And I'd go, this is so funny. I'd go and I would
fundamentals.
I would have quarters. I would literally have quarters. And so what you do with quarters, you have to put them in like the little $10 packs.
The sleeves.
So I got really good at like understanding stacking quarters, putting them in a sleeve. Anyways, I pay off my dad. And then after that, I had this experience of like every month I would have some quarter money. And it's like, I didn't have to like do much to do it. I'd have to go and clean the machines every once in a while. I'd have to go take the quarters out. But like, that was like a light bulb moment for me. Like, wait a second, you can have something that makes money for you while you sleep, you know? So I think that really set me on an entrepreneurial path. And then when I was in college, again, I knew like I didn't want to just like go out and start a business without having some sort of background or education. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to law school. So I go to law school, and while I'm in law school, I was always thinking about like, okay, how can I do this business thing? So I do law school, I get out, I start working at a firm, Ray Quinney and Nebaker in Salt Lake City, like. An amazing firm, and I'll circle back to Ray Quinney. So I'm starting the firm and I'm working through it, and at the same time, my wife's in medical school. Okay, and she's in school, I'm in school, and the thing about school, Jason, and you went to school for a long time, so you've experienced this. I think there's two things you get used to. Number one, it's not making money.
Yeah,
right.
You're dirt poor all the time.
You're used to that, right? And then number two, you have time to like plan things and try to figure things out. So my wife does med school. She gets into residency at the U, and she's in psychiatry. And the psychiatry residency is 5 years long, right? So during that time, I had this light bulb moment of like, wait a second, psychiatry is such a needed resource in the community. And I was looking around in Davis County, I'm from Bountiful, and there were just no psychiatry resources around. So I looked at my wife and I said, look, when you graduate from residency, we should start a clinic. And she's like, you're insane. Like that is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't think it is. Like, I think there's a lot of demand there. I asked her, I said, if we open a clinic, would there be people that would like, would there be demand? She says, well, I guess at the U, there's like a 1.5 year wait list. 1.5 years. And I heard that and I said, okay, look.
Can you get it down to 3 months?
I just said, if the demand's there, like we can figure the rest out, right?
Yeah.
Like you could figure the rest out. So she gets done with residency, and it was tough because when you get done with residency, the U, where she had trained forever, like it's a thing where you go to school or you're in med school, you train at a hospital. Like the thing to do is to become a physician at that hospital and to teach. Like that's the trajectory that you should do. And here I am telling my wife, like, hey, get off the path you've been on for all these years, turn down the offer of whatever $300K, whatever it was, and let's go not make money at all for a year. And somehow I brought her around on it. And I remember, Jason, so our first month out of residency, right? She tells everybody like, yeah, I'm not going to take, she gets a job offer at the hospital. She says no. And that was like a big deal because her clinical director at the time was like, we haven't ever had anyone turn us down. Never. Like, he's like, I can't remember when that happened. So we get this little space in this office, and it's one of those Regis buildings where you like rent out an office space. And we had an interior room. It cost us $700 a month. And our whole goal was like, okay, if we can just make $700 this month, that'll be great. And at the same time, I'm working at the firm, right? Yeah. So I'm working at the firm. We're relying on my income and we're starting this thing. And our office had no windows. It was
Harry Potter closet.
It was the Harry Potter closet. It was like the when you go on a cruise and you get the interior cabin room with
at the edge, at the bow of the ship.
That's where we were. We were in the bow of the ship at the Regis, right? And it was so funny. We set up a Google Voice thing and we like put out our website, whatever. And I remember that first time I got a call and it was the Google Voice, so I knew it was a call for the clinic. And they called and they said like, "Hey, can we get an appointment?" And Jason, I was like panicked. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the moment. It's happening.
It's happening.
These people, they want a literally." And they're like, "So do you have anything available this week?" And I did the whole like, "Well, let me check,"
Oh, we're a little tight this week. We can squeeze you in maybe on a Friday.
Exactly. So anyways, we get them.
Gotta work it like you got business.
We get them, exactly. We get them like, so that first month we did 4 appointments, which we were like so excited about, right? And then I think the next month we did like 8 appointments or whatever it was. And this was 2 years ago. And then we just kept our heads down, kept going. Kara didn't pay herself anything. And now I think her team is I think we're at 16 people total.
That's amazing.
Last month we did 978 appointments, which is awesome.
Yeah.
It was terrible to get that close to 1,000 and not get there, but I think it's going to happen this month.
You'll crack it this month.
It's been like this incredible journey of seeing something we started from ground zero, where a lot of people that were a lot smarter than my wife and I were looking at us being like, "You're an idiot. You should take the hospital job," right? And now it's like the amount of value that she's been able to build in these last 2 years is going to far surpass anything that hospital job could ever do for her, right? So I had that experience building that business with my wife, and it was amazing. Like I never felt, and you felt this, I mean, you have your own business as well. When you're working on your own thing, it doesn't feel like work, right? It feels like you're building.
Oh yeah.
And
I struggle watching TV shows.
Because you always want to be building.
Enjoy the TV show. I'm like,
yes,
but there's so much stuff I could be doing right now that I got to work on. It is it's not like a brain drag for me. It's like, I actually feel liberated when I get this off my plate.
Yes. Yes. And so like I felt that and up to that point, like at work, like I had a great time at work, but I didn't like feel that. I definitely feel like I was working,
Yeah.
And particularly in my situation as an attorney, like I was billing by the hour. So I was tracking every 6-minute increments, you know, and it was like every day I was just grinding. Yes, I was grinding. And then when I would go work on the business on nights and weekends, like I would lose track of time completely because it was just like so engaging and fun, right? So we built that, and I was at my firm, and this thing was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And to back up to Ray Quinney is an incredible firm. Like it's been around since like 1890. I don't know.
They're like one of the really old firms.
They're
Them
really
and Kirkton McConkie and like those are like the old dogs.
They're really old.
Christensen and Jensen.
Yes, they're one of the firms you walk in. It's like there's mahogany wood everywhere.
It smells like really, really old law books.
Yes,
like, that's what it smells like.
and in fact, there's a library there, and this is interesting. So my first day there, I go and there's a library, and I'm like, what? And it's multiple floors, this library, and we have a librarian, and I'm just sitting here like, do people use books?
Ooh.
What? Well, it was weird because I was just like, wait, why do we have a librarian? Why do we have books? And then like I started my first day, the IT consultant shows up, right? And she's like, hey, let's get you loaded up. So we get loaded up, and up on my screen pops up Microsoft Word 1997. And this is in 2017. This is in 2017.
Haven't updated
and then
their
she
tech
shows me their billing software, right? And the billing software, she proudly tells me, we've had this same software since 1996, as if it was a good thing. And I opened that thing up. I was like, yes, you have had this since 1996, right? So I'm in this firm, and like I love it. Oh, and I got to tell you this too. There's a guy, to give you a real idea of this, there is still a guy at Ray Quinney. I love him. He is one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my life. He doesn't have a computer in his office. There's not even a computer in there. So what? Yeah, you're doing the math. How does that work? He has his secretary print off his emails in the morning. He then responds to them by hand. Then his secretary types the responses and sends them off. And then what he'll do is he will dictate when he's doing documents. He will dictate the document. Then he'll hand the dictation, the recorder, to his secretary. His secretary will write it up and then send it off. So like that's the situation I was in. It was an incredible firm, right? But old school to the extreme, and as a young attorney, I just kept on getting frustrated with like the lack of technology. And I was like, and then AI started, right? And I started realizing like, holy cow, like so much of what we do, we could be faster, we could be better, we could have more clients, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm starting to think. And one day I'm at a dinner with a woman that I worked with, and I was complaining to her about this. Like I was like, man, we should be more tech forward, etc. And I was like, I'm really interested in AI. And she says, well, have you met my husband? And her husband is Dr. David Wingate. He works at BYU. He's in their computer science group, and he spent 7 years at MIT's AI lab.
We host this podcast for the love of personal injury. If you love PI and want to help our mission, share this podcast with a friend or on social media. Also, don't forget to check out www.pisciences.com for upcoming training and education for legal professionals and physicians who practice in personal injury. Now, back to the show.
Okay, like this guy is...
Before AI really...
Yeah, before AI was a thing, he was doing AI at MIT, right? And so like...
He was like, I was building the models all your models are probably running off of.
So I meet him and I start talking to him and I'm like, hey, David, like I want to do something in this space. And maybe I don't know exactly what it is, but like let me mull on it a little bit and get back to you. And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So as I'm sitting there thinking about, okay, how could AI help and where's a real pain point, and where I landed was depositions. And the reason why I landed on depositions is because, as I'm sure a lot of your users know, so many cases now, they don't go to trial, right? I was reading some statistic. It's like 90 to 96% of cases.
They try to settle pre-litigation without filing suit.
Yeah, they'll settle pre-litigation. And if they do go for a long time, they might get to depositions, but at the end of depositions, like usually they're settling thereafter, right? Yeah. So I understood how important depositions were. And I also understood like how hard it was to prep for a deposition, right? Like when you go into a deposition, it's really hard, particularly when you're deposing someone, to just make it up on the fly.
Yeah.
Some attorneys can do it. Most can't, right? Statistically, we know.
I think it comes from years of prep.
Yeah.
That they've been doing it where they can go off the fly.
Right.
But even then, they're mentally preparing. They have their checklist they're running through.
Well, and even then, every case is different.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, statistically, we know that like on average, attorneys are spending 2 hours for every 1 hour of depositions, right? So I call like a doctor depo, right? Those things can be anywhere from 1 hour to 4 hours, whatever it is, right? But there's a lot of depositions that will go for a long time. And so attorneys and firms spend so much time prepping for depos.
Yeah.
And then not only do they spend a lot of time prepping for depos, because a lot of cases don't go to trial, the deposition is now the trial. Like it is the thing that matters, right? If you go into a deposition and you do really well and you get the deponent to say the things that you need for your case, suddenly your case value, maybe it was here, now it's up here.
Yeah.
And the opposite's also true. Right? If you go into a deposition and you suck and you don't get the things that you need and you're not catching the inconsistencies, your case, which you may have thought was worth a ton of money, is now worth a lot less, right? So A, depositions are a huge pain point, and B, they are absolutely hypercritical to cases, particularly in this environment where a lot don't go to trial. And those that do go to trial, your depositions are the foundational testimony, which you are then going to argue about.
Yeah.
So either way you look at it, if you're doing a deposition, it's going to be so critical to your success. And as I thought more about that, I went to Dave. I said, let's do depositions. And he said, let's do it. So I get him involved. And then after that, the next question for me was like, okay, I need like an ops guy, right? Who can really help me with some of the business side. And I had a mission companion that I met in Oaxaca, Mexico. And he was a great guy and had a lot of experience, and he was a COO at another company. And I went to him and I said, Barry, like, let's build this thing. And sometimes like when you're talking about a business, you'll have this like back and forth where people like, maybe they get it, maybe they don't. Barry is just like, it immediately clicked. Right. And so we started on a whiteboard in January.
Okay.
And I had never done software before. Yeah. And it was funny because I told Barry, I was like, look, like, let's just write it on a whiteboard. We'll give it to a developer and we'll be good. And he's like, no. Like, we need to do like a Figma. And I was like, really?
You need like a workflow.
Yeah. And I was like, really? Do we have to?
Thing.
And then it was funny. Like we were on the whiteboard and doing the Figma for like 3 weeks thereafter. And I very quickly realized like, okay, yeah, we do need this, right?
There's a lot of little tiny things.
There's a lot of things in there. So anyways, like I had like that software baptism. We then found our CTO who helped us starting to develop things. And then we went live in May, middle of May.
So this
May, yeah, 2025, middle of May, and so it's been like 3 months since we've launched, and I think we probably have like maybe like 50 firms on the platform, and yeah, we've had like a lot of steam. People have really loved it, and like that's how this thing all came about. That was a long-winded answer.
That was fantastic. I absolutely love kind of that transition where the habits you built up even as a kid have really driven to where you're at today as you've looked at business problems. And I think that's a skill that's very undervalued. And I've seen this a lot in software. Like you said, like, hey, let's just build it. I think that happens more frequently, and AI is just accelerating that problem where it's like, I have a great idea, let's build it. And they build it before they've actually gone through the process of vetting the problem. Because once you identify that problem, it makes it so much easier building a solution, because software is an accelerator. It will either accelerate towards success or just tank it super fast. And I've seen that so often. And I'm actually really grateful for our CTO that we brought on. He was like, okay, I know this problem because I've gone through it in my own life.
Huge.
And I don't want to build something that we don't have like market buy-in. So he's like, go market test it. And I spoke with Manny Griffiths, the CEO of Hona.
Sure.
And his CTO did the exact same thing. And he was like, go get contracts first. Like, show me this
wild?
is real. It was like, okay, that is solid. I love that. I love that there's that really good balance, because being an entrepreneur, one side of it is, hey, there's an opportunity. And then you have to balance the risk versus the opportunity. I love hyper technical because theirs is, I have to manage all the risk. So how are we going to make this actually successful with all of the risk? And one of the big risks is anyone going to buy it? Because they don't want to buy something that goes into a closet. And that's one of the big trade-offs.
Well, and to your point, I feel like so often people are like, I just want to start something. And then they'll go make up a problem, right?
Yeah.
To your point. Or they'll be like, this is kind of a problem. Like I felt like with both the businesses that I've co-founded, it's been, the problem is apparent, and I wasn't necessarily looking for it either. Like, I feel like sometimes that's the key too. Like, I feel like if you're looking too hard for something, maybe it doesn't come, but if you go through your life and you're working in whatever, right, in your field, problems will show up.
Yeah.
And I think the matter is understanding when that problem does show up, and then understand, okay, wait, this is a real problem. I didn't go hunting for it. It came to me, and then capitalizing on it.
Yeah. Figuring out what's your total market? Like, how much can you actually address in this problem? Yeah. It made me laugh when you were talking about mowing lawns and then the quarter. So I went home. This was last summer. My son, he's 8 years old now. He has this entrepreneurial selling bug. He loves selling things. We'll buy those big things at Otter Pops, and he will sell each one for like $1. And he'll go knock doors, say, do you guys, it's a hot day, do you want a popsicle?
Amazing.
And the kids are like, I'd love a popsicle, because their mom just said no. So now they're shelling out $3 for popsicles, and my son will sell everything. I got home one day, and I drive in my driveway, and my son is sitting on this little fold-up table in our front lawn, and he has all of my 1 pound ground beef so we get grass-fed beef from my sister up in Montana. He has like 12 logs there, and he's trying to sell my ground beef.
Commandeered it.
Oh, he is like, I was like, dude, you can't sell my beef. Like, that's what we eat. He's like, oh, but it was doing great. I was getting like $4 a log. I was like, oh, Lincoln, like, just wait, man. Can I get something else for you to sell? And from that moment, my son's like, hey, that'd be pretty good. I bet I could sell that. It's like, whoa, okay, don't like sell to your friends, because then they just feel like they're being used.
Sure.
But it just made me laugh, because I see that with my son. It's like, okay, yeah, he's
well, and I'm sure he sees you, right? He sees you, and he sees you building a business, and then he says, okay, like, I want to go out and do that. But that's amazing.
Yeah, it just made me laugh. Like, every time I get the ground beef now, I'm like, my son was selling this. Okay, I can cook it.
And whatever you're making better be worth more than $4 for that log.
Right? Yeah. Well, I did marketing for my sister, Because, yeah, it is fun. That was actually a fun problem, selling beef across the western United States and then
That would be an interesting.
selling grass-fed beef from farm to table. So it was a kind of an interesting thing. And yeah. So they were like, hey, we could pre-sell this. And I was like, how about, let me see what I can do. And then I pre-sold for the next 4 years with everyone prepaid with like a deposit. And they're like, what did you do? Like, we don't even have that supply. I was like, this is set up for the next 5 years. And you have a waiting list of like 300 people. And they're like, what? We don't even know how to get this stuff into Oregon. I was like, well, that's a figure outable problem. I don't know either.
If the demand's there, you could figure the rest out.
So that's what we did. It cost me like, I don't know, $500 in ads and then pre-sold the next 5 years. And they're like, can we just send you beef like every year? I was like, yeah, that's a good transaction. I like that.
That is a good, that's right.
Send me some good beef. Well, I love kind of the direction that you took. And I want to talk a little bit about second chair AI and on depositions, because the physicians that go into depositions, there's a lot of prep that attorneys have for those physicians.
Mm-hmm.
Walk us through a little bit about what attorneys can experience and time savings, because that's every time you purchase either a solution, software, or something, the ROI, you're looking at time and costs.
Right.
So walk us through a little bit about what that looks like with second chair.
Yeah. So second chair, I think we have two main value propositions. Value proposition number one is we say, and our clients are experiencing this, that we'll reduce your depot prep time by about 80%. And the way that we do that is, say you have a case, right? And you have a depot coming up. What you do is you upload your case documents to the software, and then you say, I'm going to depose so-and-so. And you also say, here are some of my goals for the depot. And you might write a sentence or two, right? Once you've done that, our AI is going to go through all of your case documents. It's going to know who you're deposing from the case documents, right? Yep. And then from that context and from your goals that you've set, it's going to come up with an entire question outline and an entire objective outline. And that is massive, right? Because so much of like a deposition is getting the right questions, and not only getting questions, but understanding why they're good. So when I was creating this, I was big on, I don't want there to just be questions. I want the AI to say why it thinks that question is important and what it's trying to prove. So for every question that you get, you will see that. And our users are typically selecting around 95% of the questions that our AI is generating, which is big, right? Like that is really helpful. And what I tell attorneys is like, okay, this isn't going to completely eradicate your depot prep, and I don't think it should, right? I think attorneys,
you still have to screen it.
You still have to. You still need to like do some work. Don't just blindly follow. Like you still need to do some work. Be familiar with your case, right? Yeah. But it takes out so much of like the critical mass of that work, and then it allows the attorneys to just like fine tune on the edges, which I think is a really big deal, and it really helps them, because attorneys often in cases will have many depositions, and there'll be weeks where like an attorney in one case will have to do 6 depots.
Yeah.
Right?
6 depots with like multiple doctors.
Yes, with multiple doctors and multiple people, and like trying to get prep for that takes so long. And when you can take that prep time and significantly reduce it, and then and not just significantly reduce it with really good questions that are going to get to the heart of whatever you're trying to prove, that's a big deal, and that's really helpful. Right? So that's the first thing we do is like, okay, we're going to significantly reduce your depot prep time. And by doing that, you're going to be able to do more depots. You'll be able to take on more cases. As you take on more cases, then you can have more revenue. And then our second value proposition is when you're in the depot, you hit start recording, right? Our AI is listening to everything that's being said, and it's creating a live transcript. And the most important thing I think we do is, if the deponent says anything that's inconsistent with any of your medical records, with your pleadings, any of your other case documents, it flags it in real time. And it says, what they just said is inconsistent with this document on this page number. And then you can link right to that document. Now that's huge.
I'm just thinking of just the mapping on that and how much faster and more accurate it can make the deposition questions from the attorney to the practice.
It's massive, right? Because as an attorney, when you go into a deposition, like cases will have, I mean, you know this from the medical record side, there can be thousands of pages of medical records, and no human attorney can go through and memorize all.
No human physician can either.
Yeah, right? They can't. It's too much. But guess what can? AI can.
That's like one of the biggest strong points I see with AI is
Yeah.
just data aggregation.
Yes.
Looking through
Yes.
massive data profiles and saying, hey, here are patterns, here are trends. Because predictive analytics is fantastic. That's what it's really, really good at. Making logical decisions is kind of garbage at, but it can identify discrepancies of this is what was stated, here's the context, and this is what's actually in the record. Here's the page. I think that is like even more above and beyond.
Yes. And then what the attorney can then do powered with that information is they can say, oh, here's the inconsistency. The attorney can make the logical presumption that they need to. Okay, here's how we can resolve this inconsistency, or they can catch them in that, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting as you start catching, like if you're deposing someone, if you start catching them in their inconsistencies, you say, hey, actually what you just said was inconsistent with this, and you're catching them every single time, and you're doing it real time, guess what starts happening? That deponent starts telling the truth. And when they start telling the truth, then you really can start to win big, right? So like that's massive. And then the other thing that we do that I think is really important and we do a lot of things, but these are the main things. We catch ambiguous responses. Because attorneys, I'm this way, dude. I love to talk. I don't always love to listen.
Yeah.
And that's attorneys to a T. They love to hear themselves talk. And what we'll do as attorneys is we will ask a question and someone will respond. But in our mind, we're already thinking about the next question. Okay, I'm done talking. Now I'm just going to focus on whatever I want to talk about next. And we think they've answered it. Right? And that's a huge issue in cases where you'll get a non-response and you go back later and you think you got the admission you needed, but you actually didn't. Because you weren't listening, because you were thinking about the next question. So our AI will go through and it will flag that and say, hey, this was an ambiguous answer or this was an unclear answer. Here are some follow-up questions that you should ask in order to clarify that ambiguity, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what those two things do is they help you win.
Yeah.
Right. And as we were talking about before, if you can win in deposition, the odds of you foreshaping a higher settlement are much higher.
Yeah.
And then if you do go to trial and you have excellent deposition testimony, right, and you were able to catch someone in a lot of different inconsistencies, you're going to do a lot better at trial as well.
Yeah. I love that. And I think what you're highlighting also from the physician side, know your records.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Make sure you've documented correctly. And that's where, so when we've reviewed records for impairment exams or IMEs, or even just triage evaluations to fix problems and make them smoother, whether it's pre-litigation or litigation, one thing that we notice is just documentation inconsistency. So if you're catching that in deposition, it's going to make it really hard being deposed, especially if your notes aren't clean and it just unravels at that point. And it can make it very challenging, even if there is definite need for a client, they're not going to pay, rightfully so, because the documentation doesn't match what is needed and the severity of accident and injury. I think that is really powerful. So note to all the doctors listening, clean up your notes. Like, I'm looking at you. Clean those up because AI is going to be scrubbing through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you see AI kind of going in the next 3 to 5 years, especially with deposition software? With your niche, where you're at?
with my niche. So I think a couple things are going to happen. I mean, we're already the day where AI is going to help you in depositions. It's arrived.
Yeah.
Right. And it will help you take depositions. The other thing that AI is doing right now that our AI will do is it will help you defend depos as well, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why that matters is, like, let's say it's your person that's being deposed, right? And you want to know whether or not they've said something inconsistent with the record. Because if you can, during the depo, say, oh, they said something inconsistent, and you resolve it in deposition, then you've resolved it.
It's on record, too.
It's on record, exactly. Yeah. Whereas if you don't resolve it until after the deposition, that's not going to be nearly as effective, right? What will be interesting about AI, I think, beyond like just the deposition space, is taking the same type of technology, and I know attorneys that are already doing this with our tech, and I don't even know the legalities of it. I think it would depend on the jurisdiction, but a lot of attorneys are taking our same tech and they're taking it into trial.
That is how are they doing that?
They just hit start record.
Okay, so that's amazing,
and it just takes in the audio, right? And then based on what it's hearing, it'll say, like, if you have an expert witness up on the stand,
It's just
it will
listening.
catch the inconsistencies.
Do you see this potentially helping transcription?
Yeah, 100%,
Like with the
100%. Yeah,
transcribers
it's and so with court reporters,
Yeah.
their days are numbered. I
Yeah.
mean, they've been numbered for a while. I think they have really strong lobbies, but like our AI, and there's other AI products out there that are very transcription heavy. Like, they can do it. They can do it just as well as a court reporter. So I think court reporters' days are ultimately numbered. And if they're not numbered completely, like, their role is going to be reduced. And you're already seeing companies on the transcription side where AI is doing the bulk of it, and then they just have a court reporter review.
Yeah.
Right?
Quality review on making sure it's accurate with
So
audio.
I think court reporting is going to change, which will be a big industry shift.
Yeah.
Right. So that will be interesting. And then beyond depositions, I really do see more AI in trials, because AI can be very accurate with records.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think your point
Just
is really,
documentation overload.
yeah, and I think your point is really good. And I think it's important to note that, like, I hesitate as an attorney to ever use AI to, like, say, oh, interpret the case and then come up with here's how you should interpret that case, right?
Yeah.
But something like this, where it's like, hey, you're just catching an inconsistency, and then you leave the attorney to be the one to make the argument
find the bridge.
thereafter. Yes, that makes sense to me. And I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah.
And I think that in trial, eventually, and this, some attorneys might think I'm crazy for saying this, but come talk to me in 5 years. I think it will be illegal to not have AI in a trial, because it can catch all those inconsistencies.
Yeah.
I don't think that AI will be making the arguments, because that's just a step too far to me, and it's too hard for the humans to fact check. But I think that AI as fact checkers, they're going to be in there.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. My prediction is, I think in probably 10 or 15 years, legislation, I think, will be the hardest part to actually overcome, with accelerating AI use across industry.
Yeah.
Both in medical and legal.
Yeah, either one.
I could see a future where, do you even need an attorney? Is there an insurance adjuster that you work with? Outside of getting an examination from a doctor, like, what's needed? You need to prove the facts. So AI can tell you, hey, here's what's actually wrong with the case. Have a doctor fix it.
Yeah, well, and
to that point,
and that, I think, is probably where we're headed in the future. I think that AI is going to be part of it. I think that AI will do a lot of the body of the work, right, going through it. And then I think humans are going to be the managers of that AI, whether it's a physician, whether it's an attorney, or whatever.
Exactly.
And then at the end of the day, the people who are going to succeed, and the law firms or the physicians that are going to succeed, are the ones who are really good handlers of AI.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I tell,
understanding what AI needs for them to get their return,
for them to get the best result, and then being willing to use it. Like, as I've talked to attorneys, sometimes they'll ask me, like, okay, like, when should I adopt AI? And my answer is, like, it's yesterday, right? Because your competitors are doing it.
Yeah.
Your competitors are doing it, and if you're not using AI to in certain parts of your business, you will be falling behind.
Yeah.
That's all just the reality.
I love that. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast today. I am excited to see where Second Chair goes in the next couple of years. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's been super fun so far.
So how can listeners get in touch with your company?
Yes, it's a great question, and my co-founder will be so pleased you asked it. We've been working on our new website. We have a new website up. If you go to second-chair.ai, that's second-chair.ai. You can go there, and then right on the screen, there'll be a thing that says book a demo or learn more.
Awesome.
You can click on that, which will then, and my co-founder's proud of this from an operations perspective, it will then connect you with our salespeople and their calendars, and you can just go ahead and book a demo there. The demo's 20 minutes. And I think there's a lot of value that can be had from the product. I mean, when people sit down with us, they usually buy it. And I think the reasons are because, like we talked about, you get a lot of value from it, right? It helps you win more cases. And then finally, the way that we've set up our model, we charge on a per deposition basis, which means that if you want to, as an attorney, you can pass some or all of the costs onto your client.
Definitely saves your underlying and your overhead cost.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're on an hour-to-hour basis.
It fits into the model well with what a lot of attorneys are doing, and I think that's helpful just from an organizational perspective.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining on the podcast today. Follow them on LinkedIn, and you can catch this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our website at www.pisciences.com. Catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to Injuries and Evidence. If this episode added value, subscribe to PI Sciences and grab our free gift, a 60-minute training called A to Z in Personal Injury. It includes all the tools we use every day to strengthen documentation and improve case outcomes. The link is in the show notes. Use it. Don't leave value on the table. We'll see you on the next one.